You've been following the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively thing?
Bro, Blake Lively, talk about ruining your reputation, and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, they f***ed up. Ryan's trying to get out of it now. He's trying to get out of the lawsuit, and they're like, you were a key part of this.
That post that she made has a community note, basically a fact check from Instagram about her response, calling it out for not being honest. This contains cherry-picked information from the federal judge's ruling, which actually threw out 10 of 13 of Blake's claims, the core one being SH. The judge found that many of her claims of SH also did not rise to that level.
There's nothing wrong with getting attention, but it should make sense. It should make sense. There should be some reason. And if it's out of balance, you should probably look at
a $500 million lawsuit. Private text messages from Taylor Swift entered into federal court records. A judge who dismissed 10 out of 13 claims 1 month before trial. And 2 Hollywood stars who, as of this week, have still refused to settle. The trial between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni begins May 18, 2026. And before that date arrives, there is a lot that most coverage has either gotten wrong, glossed over, or simply not explained clearly enough. This video is going to fix that. To understand why this case matters, you have to start with the film itself. It Ends With Us is a 2024 adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel of the same name. The story centers on domestic violence, a woman navigating an abusive relationship and finding the strength to leave it. Justin Baldoni acquired the film rights back in 2019 through his production company, Wayfarer Studios. He was not just the director. He was also a producer and co-star, playing the male lead opposite Blake Lively, who he cast in the role of Lily Bloom. Principal photography began in New Jersey in May 2023. The film was paused during the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA strikes, then resumed in January 2024. When it was released in August 2024, it was a commercial success, grossing $350 million worldwide. By any financial measure, the film worked. But behind the scenes, something had already gone very wrong. During the press tour, audiences noticed something. Baldoni was largely absent from promotional appearances. Lively and her co-stars were doing interviews separately. Online, the atmosphere around what should have been a triumphant release was tense, divided, and increasingly hostile. What the public didn't know yet was that the legal groundwork for what we're covering today had already been laid. On December 20th, 2024, Blake Lively filed a formal complaint with the California Civil Rights Department. 11 days later, December 31st, she filed a full federal lawsuit. So, what exactly did she allege? Her complaint contained 2 central pillars. Pillar 1, on-set sexual harassment. Lively's legal team argued that Baldoni was consistently inappropriate on set, making unwelcome comments about her appearance and weight, and crossing physical boundaries without her consent. Her lawyers described incidents of being kissed, nuzzled, and touched without consent during filming. Pillar 2, a coordinated smear campaign. This is the part that is often underreported, and it is also the part that is still going to trial. Lively alleged that after she raised concerns about on-set behavior, Baldoni and his crisis PR team launched a deliberate, multi-tiered digital campaign to destroy her reputation before she could even tell her side of the story publicly. She claimed his team created, planted, amplified, and boosted content specifically designed to shift public opinion against her, to make her the villain of a story she hadn't even been able to speak about yet. In her amended complaint, she claimed she lost $161 million as a direct result of this alleged smear campaign. The total damages she sought, nearly $500 million. Baldoni's response was a flat denial. His legal team argued the PR activity was standard, legal crisis communications, and that any reputational damage Lively suffered was the result of her own public statements and conduct. Baldoni did not stay quiet. In January 2025, he filed a $400 million defamation lawsuit against Blake Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, their publicist Leslie Sloan, and Sloan's PR company Vision PR. His core argument, that Lively and Reynolds had deliberately hijacked his film and then orchestrated a coordinated campaign to cast him as a villain, using false allegations to protect her own image and destroy his career. He also separately filed a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, after the newspaper published reporting on Lively's original complaint. Here is what happened to both of those counter-lawsuits. In June 2025, a federal judge dismissed Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit against Lively, Reynolds, and the New York Times in full. The New York Times lawsuit was also dismissed. That is an important data point. Both of Baldoni's counteractions were thrown out by the court, not because the judge declared him innocent of the underlying allegations, but on legal and procedural grounds. Neither side walked away from 2025 looking unscathed. January 2026 is when this case stopped being a Hollywood dispute and became a genuinely public legal event. A federal court ordered hundreds of previously sealed exhibits to be made public, including private text messages, emails, voice messages, and deposition excerpts. What was in them was significant. Ryan Reynolds' private communications were entered into the record. In them, he expressed clear hostility toward Baldoni. He also reportedly reached out through his talent agent and through Ari Emanuel, the then executive chairman of WME's parent company Endeavor, asking them to use their industry influence on Lively's behalf. And then there were the Taylor Swift texts. In unsealed communications, Swift referred to Baldoni in deeply unflattering terms, suggesting he knew something was coming and had gotten out his tiny violin. Lively, in the same exchange, called Baldoni a clown and a doofus director. Swift's legal team had already been working to keep her out of this case entirely. The unsealing of those texts confirmed why. She was closer to the situation than the public had been led to believe, and her private words were now part of the federal court record. This is the moment that generated the most headlines and also the most confusion. So, let's be very precise about what happened. On April 2nd, 2026, U.S. District Judge Louis Lyman issued a 152-page ruling. In it, he dismissed 10 of Lively's 13 claims, including her sexual harassment allegations, defamation claims, and conspiracy claims against Baldoni personally. Every individual defendant, Baldoni himself, his Wayfair executives, and his PR team members, was removed from the case. Baldoni's legal team declared this a significant victory. But here is the critical detail that his team's public statements have consistently downplayed, and that Lively's lawyers were quick to highlight. The sexual harassment claims were not dismissed on their merits. The judge did not rule that the harassment did not happen. He ruled that Lively, as an independent contractor rather than an employee, did not qualify for the federal legal protections that would allow her to bring that specific claim. Additionally, the filming took place in New Jersey, not California, which created a jurisdictional obstacle under California law. This is a technical and procedural distinction. It is a real legal loss for Lively, but it is not the same as a factual exoneration of Baldoni. Lively's attorney Sigrid McCauley put it directly. The sexual harassment claims were not proceeding because of her employment classification, not because the court found no wrongdoing. What is still going to trial? 3 claims remain. 1. Breach of contract against Wayfair Studios. 2. Retaliation against Wayfair Studios. 3. Aiding and abetting retaliation against Wayfair's associated PR defendants. The core accusation going to the jury, that Baldoni's team ran a coordinated digital campaign to destroy Lively's reputation in retaliation for raising safety concerns on set. That is the case. That is what the jury decides on May 18th. Following the April 2nd ruling, Magistrate Judge Sarah Cave ordered both sides onto separate phone calls to discuss their updated settlement positions. Those calls happened on April 7th. They did not go well. Both sides rejected any deal. Judge Cave found no common ground. The February mediation had also failed. A settlement conference in early 2025 had produced nothing. This is now the 3rd separate attempt at settlement that has collapsed. The trial begins May 18th, 2026, in New York. It is proceeding. And in a new filing this week, Lively named Ryan Reynolds as a key witness, asking the jury to hear from him directly about the film's production, the alleged retaliation, and the damages. Baldoni is also confirmed to testify in person. The witness list also includes Jenny Slate, Isabella Ferrer, and Colleen Hoover, the author of the original novel. With the trial just weeks away, both sides are making final pre-trial legal moves. The most recent came from Baldoni's team, a filing asking the judge to block evidence from Jenny Slate and Colleen Hoover being presented to the jury. His attorneys argue that accounts from 7 other women Lively's team wants to introduce are too distant from her own claims to be legally relevant. They described the collection as a grab bag of minor incidents, designed to paint Baldoni as a bad person, rather than to prove specific legal wrongdoing. Jenny Slate's account involves Baldoni allegedly calling her character's wardrobe sexy, a comment Slate raised with a producer, received an apology for, and described as having been adequately resolved on set. The judge will rule on that filing before the trial begins. On the public-facing side, Lively posted a lengthy Instagram statement after the April 2nd ruling, framing her fight around digital violence and online retaliation. The statement received divided reaction. Some online creators called it hypocritical, noting that Lively had subpoenaed several of them for publicly commenting on the case. Crisis strategist Molly McPherson publicly said Lively's PR team was failing her, arguing that only having lawyers speak after such a major ruling was the wrong call entirely. Let's talk about what is genuinely at stake, because the stakes are not just financial. For Blake Lively, she has taken significant reputational damage over the course of this case. Private texts, industry communications, and public perceptions have all shifted in ways that are difficult to reverse, regardless of the legal outcome. Legal experts have publicly stated that if she goes to trial and loses, if a jury fully exonerates Baldoni and finds no retaliation occurred, the reputational consequences could be severe and long-lasting. Her attorney has been clear: Lively needs to win this case, not just for damages, but to validate the claim that was always at the center of this lawsuit, that a coordinated digital machine was turned against her, and that it worked until she fought back. For Justin Baldoni, his 2 major counter-lawsuits were both dismissed. His individual name has been removed from the remaining claims. On paper, that looks like progress. But he is still confirmed to testify in person. His production company Wayfair Studios is still a defendant. And the central question the jury will be asked: whether his PR team ran a retaliatory smear campaign against a woman who raised workplace safety concerns, is a question with serious professional and reputational consequences attached to either answer. Legal experts have noted that many claims were dismissed on technicalities rather than on the merits of the actual facts. The jury will hear the facts, and what they decide will follow both of these people's careers for a very long time. Here is what we know with certainty as of April 2026. The trial begins May 18th. Settlement is off the table for the 3rd time. Reynolds will testify. Justin Baldoni will testify. Blake Lively will testify. The remaining case centers on one specific question: did Wayfair Studios and its associated PR operation conduct a coordinated campaign to retaliate against Blake Lively after she raised workplace concerns? That is what the jury decides. What makes this case genuinely significant, beyond the celebrity names, is the question it raises about how the entertainment industry handles power, accountability, and the tools that now exist to shape public opinion at scale. Lively's team has always said the smear campaign angle is the real story. The judge's ruling, in a way, confirmed it, because that is exactly what is left standing going into trial. Whether the jury agrees is something we find out beginning May 18th. This case is not over, and this channel will be covering the trial as it unfolds. If you found this breakdown useful, subscribe. The trial starts in just over a month, and I will be covering every major development as it happens. I want to know what you think going into this. Does Blake Lively win? Does the jury side with Baldoni? Or does something happen before May 18th that changes everything? Drop your prediction in the comments. I read them all.